All right, let's move on to our host highlights. Oh boy. I had this really smart idea to take my ships that I had for the Great Wildlands deployment. I wanted to move them all in one place and then move them all at one time to save myself a lot of time. Because it was a lot of small ships, a lot of frigates, a lot of cruisers, a lot of destroyers. I even found a cache of ships from our Great Wildlands days with Capitalist Army. Like just a whole bunch of corp ships, which we extracted from the region but never otherwise moved. And as I was sitting with all these ships, I'm like, man, this is going to take me forever to move these. So I went and I got my Bowhead, which I haven't flown in literally years. I was like, oh, I'll use the Bowhead. I'll be super smart and I'll use Thera's low-sec holes to get them all out of there. And then I'll get them in Thera, and then I can use them later to deploy them wherever I want. So I scouted the Bowhead into low-sec through a Potchman hole. Or excuse me, I scouted from low-sec into Potchman. That was through a Sanchez incursion where I had to double, triple check all the gate rats to make sure they wouldn't point me. And I passed through a system with 20 people in it. That was a little hair-raising, but I managed to get through no problem. Then it comes time to get the ship from Thera to where I had all the ships stored. I'm like, all right, I need a scout, so I get a scout. He's a pro scout. He's very good. Everything's clear for the initial run-in, and the Thera hole is literally one jump from where I have all the ships. This is the best opportunity I'm ever going to have to do this. So I hop in, the scout scouts the hole, scouts the exit system, scouts the system with the ships. Both of them are empty. The hole is clear. Undock is clear. Undock actually had a guy on it, but we fought him and killed him. And then he came out again. We fought him and pushed him off again. And then he didn't undock anymore. So gave it a couple minutes. He wasn't undocking. We're like, all right, let's do this. So I undock. Confirm it's still clear. I'm aligned. Confirm it's still clear. As I initiate warp, the split second that I do, Marshy, who's an FC for Bomber's Bar, just happens to land on the station, decloak. I'm like, oh no. So now Marshy has spotted me. I think he was in a retribution at the time. And I'm like, all right, well, maybe he wasn't paying attention. He just warped to the station and he docked. Maybe. He just didn't notice my Bowhead. No, he totally noticed. He was waiting for me on the out hole. I'm like, well, shit. Well, maybe if I jump through, the hole will collapse. So I jump through. The hole doesn't collapse. He comes through. He's pointing me on the other side. Now there's more stuff coming through. There's a revelation and stealth bombers, extra tackle. It's all starting to appear around me. I'm like, shit. All right, well, I will go back to the wormhole and I'll try to jump again, and surely it will collapse because I've seen math and I know that these holes aren't very big and it should really only take 2 Bowheads to collapse this thing, especially with all the other stuff that's just jumped through it. And maybe they won't have anything on the other side waiting for me. So I march all the way back. I'm getting webbed. It's taken forever. Most of my shields are down. And as this is going on, I am pinging furiously for people to save me in the NAR Discord, network Discord. And some people are scrambling on. They're all over the place. No one's hanging out in Thera just waiting for something like this to happen. But we start getting a few people together. I jump back through. The wormhole does not collapse. It's still there. All the stuff from low-sec jumps through again, plus a few more things now. Now they got triple the number of bombers they used to. There's 3 or 4 points on me. There's a Redeemer, which is on top of me. We've got 10's Interceptor. He's flying around trying to point stuff and hold it down to just show some threat. He's got a Maul Assault trying to get any amount of damage off me he can. Finally, we get some people landing, including Kunjang, who was in a Cerberus, and he was pro, man. Started killing bombers. Would not have escaped without him. Major shout out to Kun. And I'm watching my hit points drop. There goes my armor. Started getting into the structure. When they hit the structure, it was like hitting a brick wall. They were getting through it very slowly, and I'm inching my way back to the wormhole. Still webbed, painted, the whole 9 yards. And I'm looking at my timer because, of course, I'm polarized now. But I figured by the time I get back to jump range, the polarization will be almost done. And sure enough, it was. And as I'm in 23% structure, I managed to crawl back to jump range. I jump again. The hole does collapse, and there is no one that came through with me. So they're all standing there, this like 15, 20-man bomber spar fleet. It's kind of hanging out now. And we have more and more network people coming on. We're trying to tackle whatever we can. We almost get the Redeemer. He gets off. I think we came away with like covert op ship and 3 bomber kills for no losses. My ship in 23% structure, but did manage to get to its destination. Except now I don't think I'm going to move it again. Holy shit. That was super scary.
Yeah, I think I hopped on comms right as you were like, I'm warping off. And I was like, oh, I missed all the action. Like, I was like instantly like, oh, good, you got off. But I was like, dang it, like missed it. I
friendly
like hopped
freighter
in.
Tackled. Friendly freighter tackled. Log on.
Yeah, I like hopped on. I saw it on my phone, and for whatever reason, like Discord pings are a little bit delayed on my phone. So I saw it like late. I was like, oh shit. Got there, undocked in like an interceptor as 10 was getting like pushed off one of the, I think he had the Redeemer tackled and it started to MJD, and that's how it got out. And I was like, oh dang it, I was like coming with secondary tackle. I was in warp when he MJD'd. I was like, dang it. Yeah, it was exciting to hear after the fact, hear everything that went down.
And afterwards, I look in Bomber's Far after someone mentioned that they were pinging about a tackled Bowhead, and I look and I see the pings. I'm like, Marcia, you betrayed me. Like, oh, that was you? Like, yeah, it's my main.
Literally has my name on it.
So we had a good laugh about that. Andy?
Yeah, so my highlight is a little less dramatic, but I still had fun. So yesterday night there was just a Spectre fleet that went out, like public roam that went out. And I was like free, I wasn't doing anything, so I was like, yeah, let's jump in it. So they needed a dictator pilot. I could fly a dictator, so I was like, yeah, sure, it'll give me something to do that's kind of not just like mainline. And so the way this FC runs it is he does like ham caracals, ham drakes, and then tries to force fights on the ESS with some newts to kind of bait marauders and like bigger battleships into fighting and then getting neuted out and dying. And so the idea being that you can stay outside of the ESS and then you can still use MWD ships, you can still use smaller ships for, bubbles and all that kind of thing. And so we just kind of went out, and that's basically exactly what happened. This guy, there's this kind of well-known marauder pilot that always has a fax all on standby. And so we had this really good plan. There was 2 of us dictors, and one was kind of sitting on the gate where this guy was going to bring his fax through. And then I was sitting on the ESS where this Farger was going to come in. And so this Farger warps in, we bubble him. The guy, calls out that the fax is coming. The guy that's on that gate bubbles, but he bubbles kind of off center and actually misses the Minakawa that was going to come in. So we're like, shit. So the idea was kind of pin the fax down and then just murder this marauder, and then we could go to the gate and kill this Minakawa as well. But Minakawa gets in, so now we have a marauder and a fax on grid, fighting us. And so we're like, well, maybe we can hold. We had some Ospreys, so like T1 Logi. So we end up holding okay. And basically it's just slowly grinding down this fax and this marauder. And what's interesting about it is, the fax, since they made the changes with the cap boosters, it really has like a finite amount of cap that it can really get. So we had newts on grid and just slowly started grinding down the cap on the minnow. And then the marauder was tanking well, but basically couldn't get reps in Bastion. So he was basically swapping between being in Bastion and doing high DPS to try to break things, and swapping off so that he could get reps from the fax. And so it was this really kind of interesting fight where we'd like slowly grind the marauder down. He'd start to break, then he'd leave Bastion, get reps from the fax, but then the fax cap would go down. And so we slowly got it to where we finally essentially capped him out so that his multi-specs were gone, and then we're able to burn through fax reps or kill him before his Bastion ended. I'm not exactly sure how it worked, but we ended up getting this marauder kill that was super, super blingy, like 7 bill. And then we had this fax that was just pinned, and we're able to like slowly grind down its cap and kill it as well. So we got a fax kill, a marauder kill, and this guy's really blingy marauder pod. So that was like a cool way to start. then we were like, well, it's going well. Why not keep going? So we kept, we dropped off loot, kept going, and went to Frat's staging system. And then basically started just kind of provoking fights. So we bubbled by their jump bridge. We like caught a couple ratters that were just like ratting while we were sitting on the ESS. And caught, a few other things. I felt pretty proud. I got like a very nice bubble in line with their jump bridge, and they had a Munin that tried to warp to their jump bridge, got caught by this pole bubble, and then we just murdered him. So we did that for a while. They kind of refused to engage us, and then they actually ended up logging on a Titan, bridging a bunch of Munins out of the system, and then putting a covert Sino or, a covert ops ship like an Arazu on top of us, and then lighting a hard Sino so that they could bring in the Munin fleet on top of us to finally get rid of us. And so, we kind of saw what was happening. Like we could see their Keepstar and knew that they were going to do this. But we kind of wanted to go out in a ball of glory. We'd been waiting like an hour for a fight in their staging system. So we ended up catching a couple cool things. We had a good brawl at the end, even though we got murdered by like 100 Munins. But it was like a fun night. It was good content.
Sounds awesome. Yeah.
Man,
Artemis?
y'all are like blowing up spaceships, and I'm just playing with spreadsheets. We've got some reactions up and running. Initially, I was going to do it with some moon goo, but I eventually decided to use wormhole gas. Figured out how to pull data from the Eve Marketer API to check sort of in the moment what is the most valuable reaction to do. Should I sell this gas or should I react it into its next step? And that was like, I was proud of myself for that.
Do you miss it, Artemis?
I mean, I do, but I also realized that most of these fights, I would have just been sitting there at work, seeing the pings go through on my Discord and be like, man, I wish I was home.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah, they're usually off time for you.
Yep.
Yeah, I could see how that'd be frustrating. We do miss you, though. Who knows? You could have been the guy that tackled that Redeemer. Could have been you were the one that we were missing.
You could have warped your 3-man, 5-man Leshak ball onto it and just started dunking him. That could have been you.
Yep. Or I could have also been the guy getting shouted at by Alek because I warped the 5-man Leshak ball in and got nuked by all the bombers.
Also true.
All right, let me give some shout-outs. I want to give a shout-out to our Golden Elite supporters, Mark Havoc and Kestrel Swainson, as well as brand new Golden Elites, Acer Card and Krav. Welcome aboard, guys. Andy?
Yeah, my shout-out goes to Leo, who is on our AT team. He was actually traveling this week, but when practice came, he was an absolute trooper. He kind of checked out of his hotel or whatever, only had like an hour left with internet there, and he's like, I'm going to log in for an hour, do some scrims with you guys, and then I'm going to go find like a coffee shop. And so he actually got a couple rounds in, couldn't find like a coffee shop that was going to be open that early, so he logged in from his hotel room, logged out of his hotel room, left, ran to a coffee shop that was finally open, went to I think 2 or 3 or something. He tried multiple, finally found one that worked where he could plug in his laptop and then log back in for another couple rounds. So he just put 110% effort into being in practice and showing up, which was really, really nice because we were short on people. It was just apparently a bad weekend or something, so we were kind of short people, so we needed every person we could get, and he's tried harder to get to practice than any other person I know, so shout out to him.
What a legend.
Man, I'm just imagining, because I have no idea who Leo is, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm imagining that he's the video of that crazy, I don't even know if he's Russian, but the dude who's rapier is primary, Allah! I'm imagining him just in a random Starbucks somewhere, but doing that because he's on comms for AT practice.
Oh man, it reminds me of Casper. So Casper, who was in Gorenclad, or I guess in Hydra now for AT. He has a story about him logging in from a coffee shop and a bomb going out during a bomber, launching a bomb during one of their AT practices or matches or whatever, and him saying yelling on his headset, bomb out in the middle of a Starbucks. and then realizing what he had just said out loud, and just like, oh, people are probably looking at me like I'm crazy. Yeah. It's one of my favorite stories, like just hearing that, and I can only imagine like what it sounds like to the people around.